Right then, let's get to it. Hello. Good morning. The time is 20 to 2 on October the 20th, 2023. I thought I'd do this stream now because it seems as though we are on course for something a little bit different to your normal Thursday night. We have two parliamentary by-elections in England, one in Tamworth, one in Mid Bedfordshire. Those of you joining, you pretty much already know that, but let's try and summarise and accommodate for everyone around us here. Two parliamentary by-elections, one in Tamworth, a Conservative seat with a majority of 43 points, or 16,000 votes. And then you also have Mid Bedfordshire, unsurprisingly in Bedfordshire, with the largest numerical Conservative majority, if felled, to be felled, in by-election history. So quite some stuff. Anyway, for those of you joining us, for those who've never joined before, my name is Ben Walker. I'm the co-founder of Britain Elects. I'm a data journalist with a New Statesman. And of course, for full transparency, because I know some Liberal Democrats will be very unhappy if I don't mention this, I also happen to be an elected Labour councillor as well. But when it comes to discussion of elections and public opinion, I hope to rise above my own partisan politics and give us some decent-ish takes. But there we go. So thank you very much for joining us. If you want to join the conversation, please do so via YouTube. We're not on twitch.tv/BritainElects now today. Not today because with my Restream account, basically, if I want to stream to you, I can use two sources. And Twitter's the inevitability, the obvious one. And I was thinking, either do I do Twitch or YouTube? And I'm thinking, look, we all use YouTube. We all have a Google account. If you want to join the conversation, the best way to do that is to go on YouTube and find us there. That's where we can have the conversations. So, yeah. Look, Tamworth by-election. It is... The last time it voted Labour was 2005. On these boundaries, on the current boundaries, it would have voted Labour in 2005 as well. For it to fall as far as it has from Labour into Conservative hands over the past 14, 15, 16, 17 years is big. That's big, right? It voted Leave on the highest turnout in election in the area since 1997. So the last time Tamworth turned out in as big numbers as they did in the EU referendum was 1997. So it was big for them. It voted Leave very strongly, and it had a high UKIP vote once upon a time. Now it doesn't, and it has been staunchly Conservative since, slightly, I suppose. Let me turn the music down here. Let me make sure, actually, if we're doing this, if we're actually going all the way through this right to the declaration, which, by the way, could be within the next hour for potentially Mid Bedfordshire, in the next 2 hours for Tamworth. Well, either way, either or. This is the thing. Both of them have countryside populations. Both of them have a lot of ballot boxes to bring in. Both of them... What can I say? There is a lot to go through, a lot to count, and rural constituencies take a longer time. Nevertheless, I think we should expect results within the next 1 to 2 hours. So 2:43, 3:43, maybe 4 o'clock. Looking forward to it now. I think it was this time a few weeks ago we had the result for the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election. But of course that's a more urban seat, more built-up seat. The ballot boxes come quicker. So yeah. Just what have we got here? What have we got? It's looking likely to anyone joining us just now that the Conservatives are probably going to lose the seat of Tamworth and Mid Bedfordshire. It's looking like a double whammy defeat tonight based on early indications. We're not entirely sure for certain, but here's the indication from those. If you're following us on Twitter, if you're following The Journalist, if you're following everywhere, if you're following Sky or the BBC, here's what you need to know. The Liberal Democrats, or Christine Jardine in Mid Bedfordshire, the Lib Dem MP who has been sent over to sort of handle media in the Mid Bedfordshire seat, she's come out to the BBC and Sky and sort of said, we've lost. And because of our excellent effort in the villages, which Labour would never break through, we've took enough Tory votes to hand the seat to Labour. That seems to be what the Lib Dems are saying. And, read between the lines, or rather don't, because she says it pretty plainly. it's a Labour gain in Mid Bedfordshire. Probably. Possibly. Maybe they're messing about. I don't know. But I also want to give you something else as well. I've been speaking around, I've been asking around, and I've also got my own friends, colleagues, whatever, saying to me, it's looking likely that Labour have indeed picked up Mid Bedfordshire from the Conservatives, which would represent the largest numerical majority, largest numerical Conservative majority, felled by a party, felled by Labour in a by-election in history. Okay, that's pretty big. Of course, you know, the bigger our seats become, it becomes more inevitable, but this is big. Okay, that's the largest numerical majority felled in a by-election ever. That's what we're looking at tonight. And for the Conservatives, it's a double whammy defeat from both sides. Labour trying to sweep up in the towns of Flitwick and others, whilst the Liberal Democrats try and gain ground in the villages. But I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but you get the general gist. The Conservatives really have been dealt a stinging blow there. In Tamworth, this, I want to just focus on Tamworth, really. That is your traditional's the wrong word. Well, it's Conlab, it voted Leave, it entertains some UKIP councillors, has a lot of motorists, it's very white, it's on the outer edges of Greater Birmingham, the West Midlands County. I would just say that is more of a battleground, but here's what you need to remember. If Labour wants a majority, they don't need to find it through Tamworth. You know, there are more marginal seats than Tamworth for Labour to win. If Labour won 400 seats in an election held tomorrow, Tamworth would not be one of them. If Labour won 420 seats in an election tomorrow, Tamworth would not be one of them. And it's looking likely tonight, based on the impressions on the ground, that Labour are going to gain Tamworth from the Conservatives. We don't know the margin, we don't know how whether it's actually certain. All we know is it's looking likely. Not certain, not definite, but we know it's possible. Okay, so I think this is big. This is undoubtedly big, and I think that's why it calls for this rather dishevelled, quite messy by-election hairstyle. Anyway, I was about to say I have coffee. I don't. I drank it in preparing this stream. I do have water though, so it's quite all right. Anyway, if you want to join the conversation, make sure you join via YouTube. If you can't find the link to the stream, just go to YouTube, just Google, just search on YouTube, Britain Elects. You'll be able to get there. You'll be able to join the conversation. You'll be able to send me some abuse. Looking forward to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the comments available here, and I will have a little look. So, I'm going through them. So about 7 minutes ago, a guy called Glenn says, I'm being teased by these election results. I need to be up for work in 5 hours. I live nowhere near these constituencies, but I need to know the results before I go to sleep. ! ×2. Good for you, Glenn. Probably 2 Labour gains, but we don't know for certain. Not certain, not confirmed. Don't get too excited. I'm in Hungary and I can't watch BBC Live, so I've turned to you. It's a bit of a shame, really. I thought the BBC was more accessible overseas. So just to confirm on results, those joining us, those coming back, we should expect the result within the next hour, next 2 hours. We don't know. We don't know yet, but next hour's 2. Britain Elects Discord, hello. Some people from Britain Elects Discord joining. I do recommend giving it a go if you are Discord minded. Oh God, I think I just need to confirm on the music. What have we got here? What should we do? Let's do this. Right. So this is music I got from someone else. Hi Ben, I've been hearing that in Mid Bedfordshire the Lib Dems are taking enough Tory votes to allow Labour to get over the line. Whilst in theory this is sound, do you think it will materialise? Similar to what I said, possible. Absolutely possible. This is the thing with where is the Labour vote coming from in Mid Bedfordshire? Do you know? Do I know? Don't know. And this is the thing. If you speak to anyone in the Labour campaign in Mid Bedfordshire, or really anyone who is level-headed enough, they would have at the start of the campaign, even before Nadine Dorries resigned, looked at Mid Bedfordshire and thought, we'll never win there. Labour will never win seats like that because, one, they've never tried. They've never put in the campaign. They never put in the resource. They haven't gone out to reach out to those voters. And this is the thing, voter contact in seats where you don't have a profile, where you're not seen as the default options, is essential. And, you know, in a general election, in a national election, you just wouldn't have the resources for that. And this is what makes Mid Bedfordshire, in my mind, I don't want to say a distraction, but more of a quite cataclysmic, not cataclysmic, what's the word? Distraction is the right word, because it's showing you that the Tory vote is in freefall. Yes, we pretty much already knew that. It shows you that Labour could win in some more leafy countryside, rural, maybe even southern seats if they put their mind to it, perhaps. But there's not enough of them for Labour to compete in to get a majority at a general election in isolation. What's more interesting is Labour hoovering up the marginals? Is Labour hoovering up the battlegrounds it needs? Basically, in American speak, are the Democrats, are the Republicans cleaning up in the Rust Belt? If they are, fine, you can talk about other states. If they're not, well, you're in trouble, okay? And Hillary Clinton was in trouble. So, getting back to your point, Dave, we don't know where the Lib Dem vote is coming from. We don't know where the Labour vote is coming from. I think that will be... you can find that out from those who are at the count. They can tell you. They can show you. Really, can't you? Adriana Spelinki says, I am unrepresentative because I am 51, born in Belper, grew up in Derby, but I'm allowed no democracy, no freedom, no representations, and I'm definitely not representative. I should not even live. Okay, thank you, Adriana. That's really, really good to have your comment there. Sam Coleman, what's your choice of coffee this evening? Someone needs to launch a by-election brew for the politicos and nerds. I'll buy it. I did coffee. I'm not picky about coffee. Actually, I remember this. I was dating someone once, and she commented on the fact... Actually, no. I made her coffee one morning, and I used Dow Egberts, and she went as far as messaging her mum about that, and her mum said, oh, he's got good taste. Apparently Dow Egberts is good taste. My mum got me into it, and apparently that's a really good sign of being into coffee. Where was I going with that? I don't know. I don't really have a particular taste in coffee. I've actually moved to Morrison's Daily Own brand for now. I just like coffee beans in my mug with milk. Yes, sugar as well, heaven forbid, and hot water. I put the milk in first, actually, but there we go. Bizarre Power, what are the projections you came up with? Actually, while we're here, why are you seeing my face? Let's show some... Nope, we don't want to see that. Oh, hello. Right, so let's look at some projections, or rather what we were expecting. So if we go to State of the Nation, Britain predicts who would win if an election was held today, and we go down to so what you're looking at here, ladies and gentlemen, friends and viewers, anyone in between as well, this is what would happen if an election was held today. 393 seats for Labour, 173 for the Conservative. A landslide, let's be honest there. That's pretty bloody big. Lib Dems up 19 on 30. I would just question that figure because, let's be honest here, this model has its limitations. It doesn't account for tactical voting. And we know in general elections, tactical voting plays a part. In the 1997 election, the measures were... what was it? I think it was, 2 or 3 dozen seats, 12, 24 or 36 seats may have changed hands based on tactical voting, and I think a lot of that would, in this election, go the Lib Dems' way. So look at that 30 for the Lib Dems, up 19 on the last election, and I would say it's probably closer to 40 or 50. My God, actually, imagining that's quite something. Maybe closer to 40, but this is the Tories in the doldrums, at their lowest, at the trough of public opinion. And when I say actually at the lowest, if I can show you this, not that one. Well, yeah, how about this? So we're just going to go to this chart here. I want you to focus on that. And it's this. Fewer than half the Tory base is currently voting Tory. Might be less than half. I'm not sure. We'll ignore the grammar for a little bit. But here's what I want you to just bear in mind. The state of the Tory base at present. Okay, so at the 2019 election, that's what we're working from. The people who voted Tory at the 2019 election, here is where they're currently planning on going. 44% of them plan on staying with the Conservatives, 13% plan on going Labour, 4% to the Lib Dems, 11% to parties on the right, pretty much in this case Reform, and 28% are unsure or will not vote. How does that compare to what Labour's base did in 2019 and what Labour's base did in 2010? And you'll notice there are some similarities. So what happened to Labour's base in 2010 is that half of it stayed with them. 9%, let's say 10%, went Tory. 13% went to the Lib Dems. You know, there were big shifts in Clegg then. 3% went to parties of the right, so that would be UKIP or the BNP. And a quarter were unsure or won't vote. And that was the eve of the 2010 election. And it looks slightly similar to where we are today with the Tory base, except Labour's picking up more of the Tory base than what the Tories were of Labour. And the uncertainty, or rather apathy, in other words, amongst the current Tory base is higher than it was in 2010. That's the situation. This is what's driving the landslide. And let's not forget there are non-voters coming out as well. Okay, what happened in 2019 is slightly something different, but you do notice it was pretty much a defeat. It was coming from a defeat to an even greater defeat in 2019. 61% of those that came out for Jeremy Corbyn's Labour in 2017 stuck with them in 2019. 16% were unsure or stayed at home. 8% went Lib Dem, and 8% went to the Conservatives. That was the state of the Labour base in 2019. Different times. Where I want to go with this anyway, the point being, is that we are at the trough of public opinion for the Tories right now. It's quite low. It's quite poor. It's not. What can I say? It's quite a low base indeed. But anyway, if an election was held now, Labour 393, Tories 173. And if we go into Tamworth, though, look at that. You know, Labour doesn't even pick up that. On a landslide result, Labour would not pick up Tamworth. In fact, on these numbers, I don't think I've updated it to reflect the polls yet. That is 39 to 41. So a 2-point Tory lead based on the polls now, or maybe the polls last week, I can't remember. That is quite, yeah. So if Labour are winning that, if Labour are winning a seat that gets them, that they do not win on 393 or 400 or 420, my God, they're doing something, aren't they? Mid Bedfordshire, I would just ignore when it comes to the model, but for purposes of transparency, we have them on 38, 39, 38% here. Normally in non-traditional seats, I would just point out that the Tory vote underperforms this model by about 5 to 10 points. So you're looking at the Tory vote there on 30, 35, 29% there. Between 29 and 35%, I guess. But we don't know. We can't really say anything yet with certainty. But gosh, oh God, look at that as well. Staffordshire Moorlands going Labour on these numbers. Different times indeed we are in. Stone, not Peter Bones, Bill Cash's seat, that still stays Conservative, ditto Edisbury. Let's go back to some comments. Jesse Weavers Medina. Any other by-elections coming up or likely after these two? Lost track of all the various scandals going on lately. Yeah, there could be 2 by-elections actually. Scott Benton in Blackpool South is in a spot of bother over finances. He may face either a recall petition or just resign, and that will cause a by-election. His was a Tory gain from Labour. If you want to call it Red Wall, fine, go right ahead. I don't call many things Red Wall. I don't like the term Red Wall, to be honest with you, because it's overused and it's simplified. It's too simplistic. Or rather, it's utilised. Let me start again. It's utilised in a simplistic way that doesn't reflect its initial use, which is a bit annoying. So Blackpool South, potential. Should we go to Blackpool South? Shall we have a little look at that? How did Blackpool South go? That would also be a Labour gain from Conservative, with 52% to the Conservatives' 33%. So quite... so sorry. Quite a significant shift in support, I suppose. So yeah. Ben Harley asked chances of Lib Dems winning mid-beds. Not impossible, but it's not looking likely because the Lib Dems have conceded defeat. Zek Tyler, I live for the day Fabricant has voted out. Let's go to Lichfield. Oh God, let me just sort out my throat. 1 minute, if you don't mind. It always happens at the worst times, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah, Lich Vegas, as Michael Fabricant likes to call it. Yeah, you know, when Michael Fabricant was elected in 1997, he won it by like a very slim margin, and I think he was expecting to lose. He said it to, I think it was Matt Ford on the Political Party podcast all the way back in 2013. These were one of the, I got into podcasts really early on, and then over the past few years I've just stopped caring, I suppose. But well, actually I still listen to them. But anyway, I don't listen to them, not every day. Anyway, I think Michael Fabricant said to Matt Ford on the Political Party podcast that he was selected for Lichfield in, actually I think it was 92 or 97, and he barely held Lichfield in 97, and he was expecting, I think, to lose, and he didn't. He held on. But even now, this really does illustrate the fact that votes do move, seats do change, but what used to be a marginal won't always remain a marginal. Lichfield, if an election was held now, would go Conservative 42% to Labour's 34%. So that's Michael Fabricant's seat of Lich Vegas. Ben Harley asks, could the Tories go under 150 at the next general election? I know you mentioned some seats going to the Lib Dems with tactical voting. If the Tories don't, would they go Labour? If an election was held now, it's not unreasonable to think, yeah, the Tories could fall as low as 150, if not below that. Tactical voting really could do it for the Tories, or rather do in the Tories in a way that no single campaign normally would. It really could be that bad. But this is, I reiterate, the situation as things stand now. And what I just want to do while I've got you here is pull up a chart from one of my New Statesman charts that I often do, and it's basically the polls as things stand. So let's just pull that up. There we go. Right, so here we are. Here's the polls over the course of this parliament. Okay, those of you who keep an eye, who are nerds, you've probably seen this chart before. And in the immediate aftermath of that 2019 general election, before COVID, Labour wasn't seeing any sort of recovery, and the Conservatives were actually having a bit of a honeymoon because they were on 48% as of January 2020, which is 5 points above what they got in the 2019 election. Okay, so they're having a bit of a honeymoon. COVID happened. The Tories had a bit of a bounce. Boris Johnson, when he went to hospital, intensive care unit, remember lockdown, he had a bounce. You wanted to rally around the leaders, and I remember us having all these podcasts and sort of discussion groups saying like, yeah, why? What do the polls say? Can Keir Starmer do anything about this? And well, it's the middle of a national pandemic. It's an emergency. There's not much you can do, really. And so that's what happened. But nevertheless, when Keir Starmer became Labour leader, even before the chaos of Dominic Cummings breaking lockdown law and all the rest of it, you already did start to see Labour's support rise a little bit. Not by much, but by a little bit. And this, middle of May, end of May, is when things started to go, a little bit pear-shaped for the Tories. They lost a lot of their lead. Labour was starting to poll 36-37%. And it only got to around Christmas, December, when the chaos of those regional lockdowns, do you remember those? It's like a nightmare, isn't it? It was the chaos of those regional lockdowns did damage confidence in the government. But you get to December. The Brexit deal is signed. Those Brexit papers have been done. Britain is leaving the European Union. Finally, Boris Johnson has got Brexit done. So he gets a bit of a bounce. And let's not forget what happens here. Vaccine. Roll out, roll out, roll out. COVID Chancellor Rishi Sunak. You had Eat Out to help out as well. Let's not forget that. And you do have some perception of competence restored. And they're benefiting. And Labour, it starts to flounder, because every time they flounder in the polls, they start to differ and disagree. They start to think, ooh, Keir Starmer, he's a bit of a wet wipe. Is he really going to do it? And you have the local elections, the Hartlepool by-election. Labour loses the Hartlepool by-election. They lose more and more seats. It becomes a virtual repeat of the 2019 general election in the May locals of 2021. That's what happens here. And then you have the Batley and Spen by-election happening around here in May and June, July of 2021. And it was there that Labour held on by the skin of its teeth. Kim Leadbeater held on, 300 votes. It's big. It's big. And it's big enough to the point that Keir Starmer holds on. Because here's the thing. It was a very tight Labour hold in Batley and Spen. But if 300 votes changed hands, would we be talking about the Labour Party in the same way we are now? You know, Labour held Batley by 1-2 percentage points. If the Tories won it by 1-2 percentage points, do we think Keir Starmer would have remained leader of the Labour Party? I don't think so. Because I remember how the Labour Party was like then. They were waiting. They were waiting to get rid of Starmer. But Labour held on. And they persisted and they calmed down and things tended to move on. The cost of living started to bite a little bit around here. You see the gap narrow, and then Partygate happens. And that's when the polls converge at the end of 2021-22. Labour starts to eke out a small lead as the year ends. Partygate plays a greater role, and it carries on. It becomes a slight fight. They're jostling. They're within the margin of error in some bits, but not in others. And in the May of 2022, you see some substantial, although not solid, Labour gains. We'll get to the stage now that in May 2022, if an election was held then, Labour would have been the largest party, but probably would have missed out on an overall majority. That's where things were in May 2022. We then carry on to June, July. Boris Johnson's popularity begins to crash just that little bit more. He declines and declines. And it's here, it's around about July, when the cost of living bites just that little bit more. And Labour gains for the first time in, I think, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, a lead on the economy. They're seen as the best party to govern the country when it comes to the economy. And that was when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister as well. It didn't begin with Liz Truss. It was only exaggerated with Liz Truss. That was the situation then. And then, of course, you have the resignation of Boris Johnson. There was a slight rallying. I should note that when Boris Johnson announced he was going to resign, and, you know, during that period when you had that cabinet of just random odd people, the Tory support rallied a little bit because they thought, okay, this is Boris's last go, I guess. It didn't last long, though, but there we go. But we get to, I think, what was 31st of August through to 6th of November, 8th of November, the death of Her Late Majesty, and Liz Truss has a go. You know, it's interesting to note that there isn't much change in support during that time. Nothing really happens. I think the death of the Queen does rally the Tory support just a tiny bit, but nothing really much to write home about. But then you get the mini-budget. And it spells chaos for mortgage holders. It spells chaos for the median Briton, basically. Those who feel squeezed, those who feel hurt by the cost of living, aren't just found in the States, aren't just found in wherever it becomes. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And yeah, that's what it is. So, there we are. And the rest, I suppose, is history. Because Labour's lead on the economy has been quite stubborn since. What Rishi Sunak has been able to do hasn't been enough, basically. It hasn't been enough at all. And there we are. So, with that in mind, I'm conscious of the fact that we may not be far away from a declaration. I'm having a little look now on TweetDeck, on Twitter, on everywhere else. The indication is we might get a declaration soon in Tamworth and Mid Bedfordshire as well. So we might be going to bed in an hour or so. Or maybe a little bit more, who knows. But yeah, goodness me. So, Kieran Garland asks, how good for Labour could it conceivably realistically be in the next GE? Well, this is the thing. Let me just go back to the polls while we've got a chance here. So, you can see drift. You can see there's been some drift since July. Labour was on 46% in July, now they're on 44%. Since July for the Tories, they're on 26%, and they're on 27%. Ben Harley says we might have a 3-minute warning in Tamworth. Okay, interesting. Well, now you can see how my system works. I'm just going to put on, I think, shall I put on, what should we do? Should we do Sky News or... Let's do Sky News. So I wonder if that'll be... Are they better? Well, I'm not going to comment. But, yeah, let's have a little look. Sky News. This is the thing. You can't put it on over here. Otherwise, I'll get done for not abusing stream, but I suppose taking liberties. Well, right now, Joe Biden is currently commentating on the... Joe Biden is currently commenting on the Mid Bedfordshire by-election on Sky News. So let me show. Let's have a wee little look at this. Let's get new. Where are we here? There he is. Bit of commentary there. He's expecting a what could we say there? Tight fight. I don't know. He's scrutinising the ballot papers. You can tell he's closing his eyes just a little bit, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know if we're expecting it in Tamworth. I noticed, though, you may have seen this. It seems as though more cameras have been trained in... more cameras have been trained in Mid Bedfordshire than Tamworth, which I find quite interesting. I'm just going to check if we are actually due a declaration in Tamworth soon. No, I wouldn't say soon. It could be... maybe not. Labour's candidate Sarah Edwards arrived about 2 minutes ago. So shall we have a wee little look at that? How do I do this? How am I going to do this for the result, actually, while we're here? Here we go. Right, so can we see this? Let's get this up on the big screen. Familiar faces there. No. Just once more. Yep, looking like a candidate that's already won, I suppose. So yeah. So Connor Johnson is saying BBC has just said Tamworth recount is possible. That's very interesting because it seems as though we're getting conflicting information there. Whilst of course Sarah Edwards, yeah, as the ice cream melt says, looks optimistic. I had someone else, where was it? Tamara Cohen from, I think, Sky saying, Labour candidate has arrived in Tamworth. I understand they're expecting a very big swing here, more than Selby, which would imply, I think, a decent-ish win for Labour there. But recount? That'll be interesting. In answer to your question, so let's just go back to this. Well, there we go. Kieran Garland, what did you ask? How good for Labour could it conceivably be in the next general election? Okay, so we've got some time. I'm just going to keep an eye on the fact we might need to go to... where is it? I've got too many bloody tabs open, which is trying to manage this stream. So... To answer your question, how conceivably, how good could it really be for Labour at the next election? Well, right now, they're on 44% to 27%. which, if once you factor for tactical voting, you know, probably could get Labour around 400 and something seats. Landslide level. Tony Blair, landslide. It doesn't feel that way because we know there's not as much enthusiasm, there's not as much excitement. What's giving Labour the landslide is not a new dawn has broken, has it? It's more like, please, please stop this. Please stop the madness, I want to get off. There's a lot of despair, there's not much enthusiasm. You've heard it all before, you know what I'm going on about here. And this is what I think opens up a debate, because normally, midway through a parliament, polls narrow, the base rallies, things happen. However, what normally happens in elections is this little grey box here, the unsures and the won't votes, the apathy amongst the governing party's base. In 2007, 2008, 2009, Labour's base, for the most part, was in the doldrums. I would say about half of it was sticking with you, half of it was going to other parties or staying at home. I would say around about 30 to 40% were indicating to pollsters, you know, don't like the current party. I'm gonna stay at home, and that was exaggerating the Tory lead at the time. We're sort of seeing the same here, also we have been seeing the same. And just to go back to these numbers, that is what we were seeing there. The big drop during the Liz Truss bender, let's call it that, was a consequence of a lot of Tory voters just not answering the phone, not telling pollsters, or rather what they were saying to pollsters was, we're too ashamed to go out and vote Tory. We're not going to do it again. And that's what happened. And you did see a higher transfer from Tory to Labour, but that wasn't the main selling point, okay? There's consistently been between 10 to 15 and sometimes 10 to 20% of the Tory base going Labour. It's currently at what, 13, 15, where is it? 13% now. And it's hovered around there for the past, well, it's getting close to a year now, really. Okay, so that's going to be consistent. And what I've learned is this. I know, Kieran, this is going to be a very convoluted answer. I do apologise. But if you exclude, if everything else is equal, if every single transfer doesn't happen, except the Tory defectors to Labour, so that 13% from the Tory base to Labour. What is 13% of 44%? That's 4 point something points, right? Okay, you remove that. It's more like 5 points actually. 13%. It's more like 5 points. You take that off the Tory share at the last election. That gets you down to what, 37, 38%, and that moves Labour up to 37, 38% as well. Pretty much, Tory transfers to Labour gets you neck and neck. Everything else transfers to Lib Dems, transfers to the radical right. Apathy, undecided, won't vote anymore. That gets you the Labour landslide. This gets you neck and neck, that 13% transfer. The rest gets you the Labour landslide. So if the Tories had this wondrous idea of rallying the base, stopping the flow to UKIP, not for UKIP, to reform, and getting everyone who was unsure or apathetic or hated you but didn't like Labour out to vote for you, the next election will be neck and neck. But it's not going to be that, because we know that doesn't happen. Okay? So the worst case scenario on paper is neck and neck, and that's it. So it's going to be between neck and neck and 20 points, which isn't really helpful. But what can I sort of give a correct answer? How conceivably good could it be for Labour? Well, here's the thing. The despair at the government transcends Tory-Labour divides. And I want to just focus on this one poll here that I also did. And it's this. Those who voted Tory at the 2019 election don't really think Rishi Sunak's Tories have good policies. Look at that. So among those that voted Tory in 2019, 45% of them say the agenda of the Conservative Party led by Rishi Sunak has good policies. Just 45%. 36% say no. That's quite surprising, isn't it? You know, if that was nationally, I would say, oh, okay, this is quite good. This looks like a party ready to win the election again. But among your base, among that voted for you at the last election, That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's not confidence inducing at all. And by the way, your base is split on whether you actually have any policies or rather lots of policies. That's quite something. And this is what I want to focus on. The base is apathetic. So a lot of that is probably going to stay at home. And I also want to go back to another chart, which I don't know if I have it here. Is it fear? No. Starmer. If we could do fear here. No. Oh, I didn't even type that properly. I'm taking you through some archives you shouldn't really be seeing here. But no, well. No drama with Keir Starmer. Mixed feelings. Here we go. Here's the one. And this is what I always want to focus on. And in my mind, it's what helped lead towards the victory for Tony Blair being as great as it was. And it was this. Not enough Tory voters were scared of New Labour, New Danger. Let's just go to that chart. Let's go to that wonderful poster you always remember. And this is what the Conservatives tried to do with Tony Blair. New Labour, New Danger. Watch out for him. He knew tax rises, bombshell, it's on its way. You can't trust him, all the rest of it. The Tory base saw that and thought, nah, I don't really see it. And a lot of them were quite content to, whilst they weren't keen on New Labour, were quite content to just stay at home. They were quite content to just let Labour win. And if you notice it, if you look at the 1997 election, you'll notice that compared to 92, and even compared to 87, if you can find seats to compare, they're few and far between, the turnout just keeps on falling. And that is Tory voters staying at home, partly because they're dissatisfied with John Major, and partly because they're not that bothered by Tony Blair. And what we're on course for today, and by the way, this is an old poll, I want to ask it again. Only half of Tory voters are going to be unhappy about Keir Starmer being the next Prime Minister. And that was a few months ago. Only half. Okay? If you want to rally the base, I think Keir Starmer is not the person to do that. Making Keir Starmer the bogeyman is not the person to do that. Maybe if you talk about Jimmy Savile enough, maybe if you really go for the gutter, you might do something. I don't know. But I really do not think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to work. So, on that front, I think what we're looking at here, Labour lead of 17 percentage points. I think it's going to stay that way for quite some time. It's going to bobble. It's going to bob up and down. You know, bases will become more enthused and become less enthused. But hovering, I would say, between 15 and 20 point lead for Labour is probably where we're going to be between now and the next election. Or rather, how about this? To save face, to save my ugly mug, probably between now and the next election campaign. Because I think during the campaign, things could change. Maybe. Not sure. Who knows? But what that means, when it comes to it, is these numbers, 173 to 393, or around that. I think you're looking at the next election result, ladies and gentlemen. A few seats will be different. Of course, they'll be on new parliamentary boundaries, which might change a few things, but I don't think the numbers are going to change that much. So, there we are. I hope that was a convincing answer, Kieran. I hope you're I hope you're pleased, at least. DC Gore 4P says, have you said which way you think these two by-elections will go? So just to reiterate, I'm probably going to be saying this again and again. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by going onto YouTube, searching Britain Elects, clicking on the latest stream and joining the conversation that way. Most of you have a Google account. Most of you are probably automatically signed into YouTube, so get stuck in. So, with that in mind, we are due the two by-elections, Mid Bedfordshire and Tamworth, in the next hour or so. Probably. It's 2:24 now. God, I've been... Yeah. It's a goer, isn't it? Mid Bedfordshire is due to declare in the next hour or so. Tamworth is due to declare in the next hour or so. What we're expecting... the Lib Dems have conceded on television that Labour have probably won it in Mid Bedfordshire terms. In Tamworth, someone I think suggested in this chat a recount. I haven't seen it mentioned elsewhere, but it's looking like there's a massive swing to Labour, similar to Selby and Ainsty, according to a journalist from Sky, Tamara Cohen. It would not be unreasonable to think it's probable, it's more likely than not, that Labour are going to win both seats tonight. So, there we go. Anyway, worth checking the Reform vote in today's by-elections. They tend to underperform in elections than in polls. Yes, this is the thing with the Reform Party, the radical right of UK politics at the moment. They haven't exactly been doing well in by-elections. So in Selby and Ainsty, in the by-election there, I think I had the Britain Predicts model, had them on course to take not around about between 6 and 9%. I think they got 2% or around that. They really did poorly. They polled really poorly and much worse than what my model said. And they've been doing that in every by-election we've had, and every by-election that we've decided to do projections for, which makes them a bit of a disappointment in by-elections and indeed in local elections. They win council seats in Derby but nowhere else, which is, well, the explanation in Derby, if you want to focus on that. So the Reform Party, the radical right party in the UK, has tried to replace UKIP, has tried to replace the Brexit Party, has tried to become a new force, started going hard on lockdown, started going hard on that sort of stuff, and is now trying to be all about, flat taxes and going against political correctness, refugees, immigration, etc., etc. They're not having the same success as UKIP did, and they're not having the same success in the same places that UKIP did. Their only basin of strength is in Derby, in, unsurprisingly, Derbyshire. And the reason they're winning council seats there is because they're sort of piggybacking off these local independents who defected from Labour to UKIP, from UKIP to the Brexit Party, and from the Brexit Party to the Reform Party. And on the ballot paper, it's not Reform UK, it's Reform Derby. Just worth bearing that in mind. Actually, I wonder if I could show you it right now. Oh, where are we? Also, Kieran Garland, also biggest risks for Labour going forward. Oh, there's a litany of ones. What are the biggest risks for Labour going forward? Getting caught up in culture war with the Conservatives. Because, look, most voters don't feel strongly on trans rights. Look, I'm very pro-trans rights. I know where I stand on it. I know where I stand on a lot of issues. But speaking for the country, most voters don't feel strongly about trans rights, and when they're asked to have an opinion, they get quite uncomfortable. And so they would naturally feel more inclined to the Tory position than they would to the Labour position, in a binary, which is quite annoying. But that's where we are. Labour should not be getting anywhere close to fighting those battles, because they'll probably lose them after a lengthy discussion. Have you not noticed, since the onset of the Israel-Palestine war, basically, that voters haven't rallied to Israel in the way perhaps they did to Ukraine? Because they feel uncomfortable, they feel it's difficult to discuss, they feel they can't really take a side on it, and I feel it makes people just that little bit more apathetic. And I think getting caught up in culture war issues that the Tories want to fight on and exploit and make great hay out of is going to do the same thing to a lot of those people, I suppose. And as CNG Light says, gender issues was like number 17 in election priorities, wasn't it? Exactly. But hey, if you talk about it enough, it'll move it up the agenda. In March, April, the Tories spent 2 weeks going hard on boats, and it did move it up the agenda just that little bit, didn't it? Right, so I was going to show you something. I can't remember what it was. It was a map. It was going to be a map. Let's have a wee little look. So, is the music all right? I think it is. I don't think there's any music playing, actually. Yeah, that's absolutely fine then. Yeah, I've just got the same old classic music. Let's get a map up. So, what have we got here? Opperville. So here is... What do I want to show you? What was I trying to show you out of interest? Why am I asking you? You don't know. So, let's have a wee little look. So given the fact we have Tamworth by-election coming up, the Tamworth result is probably an hour away. It's not unreasonable to think that's going to be a Labour game. Excuse me, I'm having a jelly baby. It's not vegan. Yeah, just excuse the ASMR here. It's not unreasonable to think that's going to be a Labour game in Tamworth. And let's just have a look at that. Let's just have a look at what happened in May. So what you're seeing on your screen here is Tamworth Town. You also have the village community, large community of, I'm going to try and pronounce that, Faisley or Fasley. And then you have all of these villages of Shenstone, Drayton Bassett, and Whittington and Wigginton. Okay, and these were all part of what is the Tamworth constituency, because the Tamworth town, you can quite clearly see, went Labour quite comfortably. Or rather, let's have a look at some of these results. So let's click on this one. Castle Ward. Labour took it, but with only 38% to the Conservatives' 36%. And you'll note support for an independent candidate there was 17%. Let's look at another one. Bowl Hall Ward. Bit more of a, well, undoubted Labour result here. 60% to the Conservatives' 27%. Belgrave Ward is a lot more, much more split. Labour 40%, Lib Dem 28%, Conservative 28%. Go further down to Wilnecote, another Labour gain here, but it's not clear. It's not a landslide, is it? It's 42% to the Conservatives, 33%. Another one, Amington, 50% to 49%. Bloody hell, that's quite something. Spittal Ward, 36% to an Independent's 32%. And a Conservative candidate's 31%. And the point I'm trying to make from all of this is that Labour came out of nowhere to sweep a lot of these seats. Look at that. Mercian Ward hasn't voted Labour in quite some time. Ditto Castle Ward. Ditto Spittal Ward. Glasgow has had Labour history. It's also had UKIP history. Belgrave hasn't. Wilnecote hasn't. What happened in May was Labour winning in places they don't normally win. Okay. Now, I'm just getting messages from people on the chat that the Tamworth Declaration may be imminent. Okay, well, if that's the case, let's have a wee little look on this. Let's go to iPlayer. Let's have a wee little look at it, I suppose. BBC News. Sign in, register. Oh, God, we're going to see all my details here. Oh, dear. Okay. Are you able to see this all right now? Yeah, you can. Oh, no. I do have a TV license.
The returning officer, no doubt to come round.
Yeah, Joe Coburn probably saying it's probably imminent. With that in mind, we're just going to just keep our eyes on that while I get my... bugger, I need to get my spreadsheet ready for this. Shit. I did not come prepared. So I just came from full council tonight. As like I say at the start of this broadcast, I am a borough councillor in Chester, for Chester's city centre and the Garden Quarter. For those who don't know, that's the student area of Chester as well. And, oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, better change my password after stream. How are people going to work it out based on just that? Are they going to really work it out? Surely not. Surely not. But anyway, I'll have a go. Velociraptor says, is there any result on these that put Sunak at risk? I don't think so myself. So Rishi Sunak represents a part of the world I know quite well because I was born there. Richmondshire, North Yorkshire. And for those who don't really know it, oh my God, there's just such a story about the selection of Rishi Sunak as the Conservative candidate that just doesn't get talked about, I don't think, because, look, North Yorkshire, white as can be, you know, it's very, yes, the fact Rishi was basically brown did have a factor. was actually a problem for a good number of Tory activists when he becomes selected, so much so that some of them left the party and joined UKIP on the night he was selected in, 2014, 2015, to replace William Hague. I remember those days, and I remember knowing some people who were joining UKIP, and bloody hell, yeah, it was different days then. Anyway, just getting the result ready now. Richmondshire in North Yorkshire is based, the biggest town is Richmond. You've got Northallerton, which has got an army history. You've got... What else could you do? Yeah, there's just a bunch of other little towns. Is it Leyburn in there? You got some old... If you know the Settle and Carlisle railway line, there used to be this old heritage line off... What was it? This old heritage line? Yeah, off the Settle and Carlisle line that used to go through the Richmond seat. It's very countryside. It has a castle in Richmond from the Normans. It's nice. It's pretty nice. It's pretty affluentish. There's a lot of second homes there. Okay, and what else can I say? There was a by-election. There was a by-election there in the early 1990s, and this was when William Hague became the MP in the 1990s. And the SDP, Social Democrats, or was it the Lib Dems then? I can't remember. They ran the Tories really close. Really close. And I think on these conditions, if they tried again, they could. They could. But I think perhaps the presence of the number of live-in army people might change that, because army people, by and large, they're more apathetic than perhaps we realise, but they're a hard nut to crack. Anyway, I'm conscious of the fact we are due a by-election result any minute now, or rather soon. I'm just watching the television screen on the BBC. It's looking like something is coming. Horse racing is big. Is it big? Is it big in Richmondshire? I'm not sure. Anyway, where are we? 812 536. Anyway, right. So with that in mind,
in the zeitgeist, the spirit of where the British public is at the moment.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of your colleagues, Robert, are going to be very nervous. Whoever these,
we're not due the result just yet.
And given that we've got the biggest tax burden since the
Yeah, Tamworth is on its way. In the answer to the question, Richmondshire, could Rishi Sunak be in trouble? Bit of a long stretch, but never say never. It could happen one day. Sorry, I'm just sorting out some results with this in mind. Other questions. Do you personally run Britain Elects Twitter? Yes, I do. I've been running it for 10 years now. I'll be honest with you. I think it was this year that I kind of realised this is exhausting. But mind you, I think I do too many jobs. I'm a data journalist. I'm a borough councillor. And because I'm a Labour borough councillor, I'm also the campaign organiser for the whole of Cheshire West now. It's all quite stressful. So I think I'm taking on too many undertakings. But anyway, let's just pay attention now, because I think someone's at the thingy.
Yeah, but a lot of that. Where would you find money?
What's this?
A lot of that.
Ooh, are we due something soon?
And it's also because you've got anemic growth in the economy.
They're talking on the BBC.
We all want to grow the economy. Let's just have a look at what's going on in Tamworth.
Thank you, Joe Coburn.
Because it looks like, the returning officer is about to make better growth under Labour, Robert.
I'm conscious of the fact that given I'm broadcasting, I have to talk over this, don't I? A little bit.
Yes, now that looks like the
Sarah Edwards sounding very happy there. Looking like we're due a very good result for the Labour candidates there. Oh, God. Yes. Where's Andrew Cooper, the Conservative candidate? Not there yet. Lib Dem is shaking the Labour lady Sarah Edwards, who has been what can I say? She's been a union organiser.
Away from the Tories, who have held this since 2010 with a very significant.
I think the classical music is helping, isn't it? You can tell she's won, can't you? Bloody hell. And people said this wasn't going to
Any other
happen.
candidates going to join us on the stage?
Where's Andrew Cooper? Is he coming? Brexit Party candidate there. Reform Party, sorry. Credit where it was due. He was actually trying to engage voters when I was there on... when I was in Tamworth on Tuesday. I saw him talking to voters, and it was good. It's good to actually see them, you know, try.
returning officer is waiting to see if any of the other candidates that have taken part in the other parties in this Tamworth by-election
God, the Conservative candidate isn't joining.
as if
That's
they're all
ridiculous.
gathered now. Well, not the Conservative candidate, but let's see. Maybe that is why there is the slight pause from the returning officer.
Goodness
waiting
me.
for the Conservative candidate.
Right, so
Would
there we go.
expect to be on the stage Andrew Cooper, because he might have won. You never know.
The UKIP candidate was born for the job by the look of it. Some of them do, yes, look characteristic. I won't, yeah.
Sorry for the short intermission.
Oh. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are due the
To be a little bit of a wait while
declaration
they find
in a moment.
Andrew Cooper. Everybody's looking round to see where is the Conservative
He's hiding in the toilet. Actually,
because the other parties also
before he starts talking, I just want to give you an anecdote. We had the declarations in Cheshire West, and one of our Labour candidates, who eventually won a seat off a Conservative, it was a big marginal, big battleground, and he won it by 100 votes. And we went, where was he? Where is he? Where's he gone? He was getting a toasty. He was getting a toasty and munching on a Mars bar, and he was just sat in the cafeteria enjoying himself. And we were just trying to, we want to cheer you, we want to cheer you. Nope, he needed his Mars bar. It'd been a long night for him. Don't think we can say the same for this Conservative candidate, though.
with the returning officer to find out what's happening.
Yes, this was the
the Conservative candidate.
just to go on this was the Conservative candidate that posted the flowchart about, you know, if you're not, well, a whole host of
If it is the case
whole
that
host
they
of
were
other
going to-
stuff.
and we're about to
This is
find out,
this
I
is
mean,
this is hilarious,
clearly the
really.
results would be very disappointing
You
for
know,
Conservative
what's the
candidates.
word? Magnanimous in defeat, magnanimous in victory.
If this Tory
I
candidate
can't remember.
gets the seat,
I can't remember,
they're unlikely to be
but-
the candidate picked in the general election. They will then go to Eddie Hughes, the current Tory MP, who's planning to switch seats. So it's really
Well,
a really
there
good
we go.
chance to go to
This is
Right.
ridiculous.
Well,
This
being told,
is, I don't know.
understand that the
You are
Conservative
representing the what was the
last person to
lion's
decide
share of support, lion's share of voters
will go out, but one might
in your
have
seat, and you don't even
thought
bother to
we'd
turn
have
up.
found
It's
out
not. It's
who
happened
the
before. We
main
know it's happened
candidate
before.
standing
I always
in the
remember
building before gathering
when
up on the stage.
UKIP and the Brexit Party were missing out on
For
seats.
Andrew Cooper.
They
Yes,
Nigel Farage always stormed off. He never hung around for the defeat. If it was a bad defeat, you know.
without knowing.
The result. We know the result. Sorry about it. Sorry
You
about
know,
that,
you
folks.
are. You pulled the curtain back on the by-election.
So, I'm
What are we
afraid
going to
so.
do on the next
I've
one?
even been a by-election candidate. I know.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Oh,
He's appeared.
Andrew Cooper's
He's
here.
appeared.
Very good.
Right.
He's here.
Of a Member of Parliament for Tamworth.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen.
Friday, the 20th of October. I, Andrew Barrett, being the acting returning officer at this election, do hereby give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at said election is as follows. Bill Cliff Robert, UK Independence Party, 436 votes.
More than half of what we got in 2019.
Cooper, Andrew, commonly known as Andy Cooper, the Conservative Party candidate, 10,403 votes.
Ooh, that's not terrible. That's not terrible for the Conservatives.
Cooper, Ian Stewart, Reform UK, 1,373 votes.
That's quite good. That is commendable, actually.
Edwards, Sarah Sienna, Labour Party, 11,719 votes.
Wow. Labour game. Labour game. The majority of 1,316 votes.
Hope, Alan, commonly known as Howling Lord Hope, the official Monster Raving Loony Party, 155.
Congratulations to Mr. Reverend.
Howarth, Susan Gale, commonly known as Sue Howarth, Green Party, 417.
Reform may have held on to their deposit.
Longman, Peter George, 86. Simon Ashley, Britain First, Stop the Boats, 580. Virk Sundeep Singh, commonly known as Sonny Virk, Liberal Democrats, 417. The number of ballot papers rejected was as follows. For want of an official mark,
Wow.
0. Voting for more candidates than the vote was entitled to, 9. Writing or mark by which voter
They've done
could
it.
be identified,
Reform have
1.
saved their deposit.
Being unmarked or wholly void for uncertainty, 34, which gives a total of 44. Vacant seats is 1. The electorate is 71,302. Ballot paper issued, 25,630, which gives a turnout of 35.95%. And I do hereby declare that Sarah Sienna Edwards is duly elected.
So, Labour have won Tamworth, and that is something of a historic moment for them, even in by-election
votes did the
terms.
Greens get?
She obviously looks delighted. We'll wait to see if she's going to say a few words at the lectern.
How many votes for the Greens? Yeah. Oh, wow, they got the same number of votes as each other. Lib Dems and all that.
Tonight, the people of Tamworth have voted for Labour's positive vision and a fresh start. They've sent a clear message to Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives that they have had enough of this failed government which has crashed the economy and destroyed our public services. The people of Tamworth have made it clear. It's time for change. I want to thank the returning officer, my election agent, Charlotte Walker, election staff and police for the smooth running of this election and count. I know it's a lot of work that goes unmentioned, so thank you for your professionalism and commitment to the democratic process. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank my campaign team and the wider Labour movement. I cannot express in words just how much I appreciate the sacrifices that you have all made to ensure that we turn Tamworth Labour. Tonight, we have turned a page on Tory neglect and delivered a fresh start for Tamworth and our villages. And thank you to my wonderful family and my mother who have given me endless support over the years. Above all, I would like to thank the people of Tamworth and the villages who have put their trust in me to be their Member of Parliament. I have made promises to you that I intend to keep.
Well, there we have it.
I will be your voice in Westminster and challenge this government to get a better deal for Tamworth. You have my solemn promise. I know a lot of you have voted Labour for the first time, and I will not let you down.
God bless you.
I've spoken to many people in this campaign, and the same conversation has been repeated.
Right.
People feel worse off after 13 years of the Conservatives and don't feel like the government have a plan to address the big issues.
The Tamworth by-election is a Labour gain, comfortably so.
And it's not acceptable.
Oh, yeah, let me just sort that out. Labour gain, quite comfortable, with a 5.5 majority over the Conservatives there. But look at the change in support. Let's just focus on that. Labour up 22 points on 2019. The Conservatives down 26 points on 2019. The Reform Party, for the first time since Old Bexley and Sidcup, save their deposit in a by-election.
It's not acceptable that a third of our children live in poverty in Tamworth because of the decisions of this government. People in Tamworth and across the country are sick of the government's failure to tackle the big issues facing our country. People are being hit by a cost of living crisis, which has seen energy bills soar, petrol and food prices rocket.
Yeah, I think
and the
Reform should be
weekly
happy with
budget
that.
Stretched, and the government have failed to help working people. In this election, we offered a plan for Tamworth that was positive, full of ideas and hope. A hope that politics should be about creating a better country for us all. Only Keir Starmer's Labour Party has the vision and the ideas to make life better for everybody in our country. Change is the question at the next election, and the answer is Labour. Keir Starmer and Labour
Okay, I think you've said your piece now.
of national renewal
We'll move
to
on.
replace 13 years of national decline.
So,
My message to the residents
to reiterate,
of Tamworth is this. I will be
uh,
a visible and approachable member of Parliament who delivers on our town's priorities and gives Tamworth its future back. My message to the Prime Minister is get in your government car, drive to Buckingham Palace, do the decent thing and call a general election. Thank you.
not bad, not bad. She's quite good at that already. You can tell she's got it. This is what happens when you select someone from a union for as a candidate. Okay, so there we go. Right, I'm going to keep the BBC on, but I'm not going to utilise it as content. Thank you, Careful Wish. Mid Bedfordshire is likely in the next 20 minutes. Not bad going there. That is it. And let's just focus on this result. Because if the Reform Party didn't stand, and let's assume the Reform vote goes to the Conservatives. It's not. It wouldn't. It wouldn't by a large. When you look at radical right parties, assume half of that would stay at home if the radical right doesn't stand. But what's half of that? 5.4, 6.4, 7.1. What's half of that? 3 point something. Makes it closer. Probably brings it to recount territory. But my God. The Tamworth by-election result is a pretty solid Labour gain. It is only, however, not to put a stinker on it for the Labour supporting people at home, but it is only not far off. Only about it's not far off from what the polls are predicting. You know, it's not a blowout, but it overperformed. But it's better than what Britain Predicts was saying, just not by a huge amount. Okay, there's the spin. Okay, the polls projected it would be close. Labour won it by 5 points. Well done. That's all right, actually. Yeah, actually, I'll say that. I don't even know what I'm trying to say there. But there we go. It is a pretty sizable, massive swing from the Conservatives to Labour. There we go. Pretty good going. Sarah Edwards, good candidate. Actually, got it here in myself. I've got one of her leaflets there. Had it with me, left over when I was on my way home. Oh God, everything makes noise at night, doesn't it? So yeah, decent. And what I think, I always take the view Tamworth, the by-election is a lot more telling than Mid Bedfordshire. Mid Bedfordshire represents what doesn't speak for other corners of the country like Tamworth does. Tamworth voted Leave and turned out in the biggest numbers we've seen since 1997 in the EU referendum, and it turned out overwhelmingly for Brexit. Since 2005, or rather since 97, it was moving more and more away from Labour, and in local elections, a lot of that Labour vote felt quite content to go UKIP. Tonight, you see a reversal of that on on a swing that we haven't seen for quite some time. And the majority felled, I need to just reiterate to you, which is, I can't remember what I said, and I don't really want to be that person that goes through all my tweets, but just to get the point here, where is it? Is it here? No, it's close enough. God, I tweet some rubbish sometimes. Oh, yeah. A reminder, the Britain Predicts polls-based model, that's what we expected. Con 40, Lab 40. Instead, Lab get 45, Cons get 40. 41, rather. I think that's okay. But anyway, what I want to emphasise is this. If the Conservatives lose Tamworth, that is the largest percentage point majority felled in by-election history. Okay? That's the largest percentage point majority, 43 points, felled in by-election history. Not felled by the Lib Dems, not felled by a protest party, felled by Labour, an apparent party of government. That's something, isn't it? Labour doesn't need Tamworth to win 400 seats in a general election. Labour doesn't need Tamworth to win 420 seats in a general election. But they've just won it tonight. What does that say about the country? What does that say about public opinion? What does that say about how far Labour is ahead? You might not get excited by Keir Starmer. There is no drama with Keir Starmer. But what he's leading, or rather what is happening to this country, of which he is the head of, or going to be the head of, is pretty sizable. It's pretty sizable, okay? Mid Bedfordshire will represent the largest numerical majority felled in by-election history. The previous largest, previous largest was Tiverton and Honiton, I think, or North Shropshire. I think it was Tiverton and Honiton. So that's what we're up against, and it's looking quite likely that Labour are going to do both. Tonight they are going to fell the largest numerical majority and the largest percentage point majority. Bloody hell, eh? So quite some things. So just to get back to some of the comments in the chat. Mid Beds is the big fall from grace for the Tories. Yes, it is. But I think what you could say is Mid Bedfordshire represents the panic in Tory heartlands. Or rather, it should set in a great deal of panic in the Tory heartlands. Tamworth represents Brexit Britain moving in a way it hasn't done since 1997. Okay? That's where we are. Tamworth represents Brexit Britain, which is where most of the marginals are, which is where most of the battlegrounds are. Mid Bedfordshire represents, how bad could it get in the Tory heartlands? And by heartlands, I mean the affluent, new build, country estate heartlands. It's pretty big. So we're expecting Mid Bedfordshire soon-ish. What have we got here? What can we do? Velociraptor says, I had no expectation at all of reform being a thing in the general election. If they are a thing, then the Tories are going to going down. Yeah. And this is the thing, isn't it? This is what you're going to see. You're going to have a lot of people writing in the right places, in the Telegraph, in the Express, etc. They're going to say, hey, look at that reform vote. Look at that UKIP vote. We could have won this if we united the right. This is what happened in 2013, 2012, 2014, right? You had people like Tim Montgomery going out to say, we need to unite the right. We need to get UKIP on side. So we need to, promise a referendum on Europe, be tougher on immigration, and maybe we can win a majority that way. And they did, actually. It worked. I don't think it would work now. I don't think it'd work because the ways to unite the right now require, I think, more radical language than that which they're currently putting out. If you're not content to vote Conservative and you want something a little bit stronger, when you have Suella Braverman saying all that she's been saying, I don't think you're going to find an easy way of winning those types of people back. I know that was a very convoluted ramble there, but I hope you got what I mean. It's not the same as uniting the right during the days of UKIP. It's not the same. It's going to be something different and a bit more. I don't think it's going to be as profitable as you think. David Linley says, is the turnout number similar to that of other by-elections in recent history? Yeah, so just bear this in mind. I always do percentages of percentages. So, how would I explain it? Basically, the turnout in Tamworth was 55% of the turnout in the general election. The turnout wasn't 55%, but it was 55% of the 2019 turnout. Does that make sense? In Mid Bedfordshire, it was 60% of the 2019 turnout. In the Chester by-election, of which I was part, it was 56% of the 2019 turnout. In Wakefield, it was 50-something%. In West Lancashire, it was 50-something%, and so on and so forth. Basically, in by-elections, turnout is not half of what it was in a general. It's more than half, but not by much, okay? And what we saw in Tamworth and Mid Bedfordshire was pretty much that, okay? Does that summarise it? I think it does. So, yeah, turnout was standard. Nothing much to say there. I'll leave it at that, actually. So, yeah. I just got a mention on Twitter. Is this the moment we stop saying that Labour's lead is soft? I think anyone who was saying Labour's lead is soft doesn't know what a soft lead looks like. But yeah. Adriana says Lib Dems would do themselves such a huge favour if they dropped the Dems and just be the Liberal Party. Would they? I mean, I like the word. I like the idea of a Liberal Party. But I also like the idea of the SDP. Not the current one, not the policies. It's just it's the brand. It's branding. I love branding. Yeah, I thought of Democrats, Liberals, Social Democrats. Yeah. We're nerds with ideas. That's me. Right, I hope that wasn't too loud for your ears. Is Lichfield up for grabs? Asks Christian Lack. Maybe, probably not. I don't know. I mean, despite his comedic temperament, to us, we political junkies, I think Michael Fabricant is probably seen as a decent enough Conservative MP because his vote is not always in a state of freefall, is it? Or hasn't been, you know? This is not a soft lead for Labour. Okay, let's just deal with that straight away. This is no soft lead. This is quite something. I'm just checking on Sky News now. It's looking like we're getting close to a result. Not a result, or maybe a declaration in Mid Bedfordshire soon, because I just saw screenshots of Mid Bedfordshire and it looks like people, well, not screenshots, video footage of Mid Bedfordshire, and it looked like they were coming close to the end of a count, because when the counters are stopping, I think that actually means something, because it means that the count has been done, so they're adjudicating. But yeah, oh God. John Craig from Sky News is just tweeted, latest prediction I'm hearing. I'll put this on the screen for you guys. Where is it? There we go. This one here. John Craig says, latest prediction I'm hearing at Mid-Bed's count is Labour win by about 1,000. Not the much bigger 3,000 to 4,000 I was told earlier. Still a remarkable victory if correct, given Nadine Dorris's majority in 2019 was 24,000. I would just ask you, all of you guys, don't obsess with numerical figures here, because by-elections have lower turnouts. 1,000 in a low turnout by-election isn't the same as a 1,000 in high turnout. You know how it is. But yeah, it's pretty clear it's going to be a double whammy Labour gain tonight. Mid Bedfordshire, Labour gain. Tamworth, Labour gain. And when is it happening? Well, we're still a bit of a way away, but it is on its way. So, my goodness me. Yep, they're oh, God. How do I do that? We don't need that. Don't need that. We'll keep Sky on just in case. Yeah. So you may have noticed that Britain Predicts isn't terrible in the ConLab marginals, in the ConLab battlegrounds that we do. So I was pretty bang on in Chester, same with West Lancs, same with Stretford and Urmston and others. But when it comes to, Tiverton and Honiton or North Shropshire, absolutely terrible, because you can't properly quantify in areas where there are unconventional swings. And what's going to happen in Mid Bedfordshire is, I think, going to be something quite unconventional. I don't think Labour are going to get... do you think they could get 34%? I don't know, actually. God, imagine if they did. I'll claim credit. I could claim so much credit. Would I do that? I'm not that shameless. But yeah, there we go. My God, please don't show the new North Wales boundaries. They may physically make me sick. Laszlo, thank you for joining the conversation. We're going to have a look at the new boundaries. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at maps now. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to join the conversation, go onto the Britain Elects Twitter. There'll be a link there to the YouTube. Alternatively, go to YouTube, search Britain Elects. You'll find it. You know what to do. You have an account. Let's get talking. Okay. These are the new boundaries for England and Wales. I haven't done Scotland yet. I'm actually in the process of doing it. I just get distracted by so many things that I never get time to myself to do what I want. I'm too scatterbrained. But anyway, yes, this is quite a hideous map because some of the boundaries are absolutely abysmal. Not least where I live in Chester. We're very unhappy. It looks logical to the random person living in London who looks at a river and think, oh yeah, that's a divider, right? No. South of the river is just as much in Chester as north, and splitting Chester south off to this disparate seat, which has the edges of Northwich and a quite literal sack of Nantwich. Not least this, between Crewe and Nantwich, just doesn't make sense. And that's Chester South and Edinburgh, of which I think Richard Walker was keen on going for, but that got turned down, I think. I don't think he's joined Labour, has he, yet? Anyway, yes, the boundaries here are occasionally nonsensical, but we have to get used to them for at least a little while. I don't think they're going to be redrawn in the next parliamentary term, I don't think. But yeah, got to get used to them. Shall we look at North Wales? I hate the Wrexham one with a passion. Actually, I hate all of this with a passion. Look at that. Okay, so for those who don't know North Wales, you've got the Welsh bit over here. You've got the English migrants setting up shop all the way from Flint, or rather Shotton, Connors Quay to Prestatyn, Rhyl, Colwyn Bay, and a bit of Llandudno. And then you've got what I think is a lovely valley over here between Llangollen and Corwyn. Lovely heritage railway. Strongly recommend it. You've got that. Can't pronounce that. I'm not going to try to. And then you've got Wrexham, which is now a city. But anyway, look at these bloody boundaries. Look at that. Why would you have Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr go all the way up to this, taking that? And why would you have Llangollen in the same valley as Carrog and Corwyn, split off like that? And why would you have Corwyn in the same constituency as Carnarvon? I know, but it just doesn't make sense. I don't like it. I really do not like what they did to the Welsh boundaries. And I protested, and nothing. Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere. Because I know there's quotas, but I just think the building blocks we use to make our boundaries makes no sense. And I've written on it before, but there we go. I'm just going to answer some questions. GM comes into comment. Do you think anyone will challenge Sunak for leadership before GE? No, I don't think. Surely not. I think everyone recognises that Sunak is here for the long run, or rather the election run. And once that happens, yeah. Okay. So that's where we are. It's pretty big. It's. I think what's going to happen is the election's going to come. Labour could win bigly. The Conservatives are going to get absolutely spanked, and I think it will be then that the future of the Tory party will be decided. Because what I find quite interesting, who is going to take over? Graham Brady said this, and it sort of stayed with me, and it is this. He doesn't think the Tory membership should decide the next leader. They want to move it back to parliamentary choice. And I get that. I understand that completely. I know what it's like. I can imagine that. I wouldn't, let's say, for example, I'm a borough councillor, and I think choosing the leader of the borough council Labour group should rest with the Labour councillors. I don't think the members are as engaged as the Labour councillors. And look, as a Labour councillor, I've got to engage with my leader of the Labour group more than a member does. Okay, and since I became a councillor, I completely understood it, to be honest with you. Anyway, besides the point, the jockeying for who will succeed Rishi Sunak is going to be very interesting, because I think it will decide the direction. Either they will go for someone who is ideologically what they want. So, and people always think Suella Braverman is ideologically what they want. I think Suella Braverman is not ideological at all. I think she's just reading the room and just trying to appease it. I think if you had to say who is more ideological, Priti Patel or Suella Braverman, and I say Priti Patel, because Priti Patel has been saying that sort of stuff for the past decade and a bit. Suella hasn't. And I think that sort of reflects the fact that she sees it as more of just a politics. Priti believes it. Priti's the one dancing with Nigel Farage. Suella's not. Just bear that in mind. I do. So I think there will be a battle. What kind of Tory party you want? Do you want the Priti Patel Tory party, or do you want something big different? And I think MPs could be so stunned by the election defeat that they have a reset in their heads. They think, okay, we've lost so much. Labour's going to be in power for quite a long time. What are we going to do? We could either go more ideological. We could think, okay, it was reform that hurt us in these marginals. Enough marginals to maybe deny Labour majority. I don't think it'll come to that, but, it might figure in the psyche. So let's go for someone more ideologically right-wing. Okay, so they might do Kemi Badenoch or who else? No, Nigel Farage's not going to come back. Not going to. Yeah, he's rejoined. He used to be a Tory member, didn't he? I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is maybe it's more me hoping, even though I'm no way inclined that way. There's a bit of me thinking they'll go for someone like James Cleverly, who I think is popular enough, or probably could be popular enough, to change the whole thing. Not sure if it's a goer. I don't know. But I think that would be the healthy way. If the Tory party wants to save themselves and mount a quick recovery, I don't want to say the solution is always through the centre. It isn't. Sometimes you need to temper your centrist aspirations with a lot of populism, with some reflection, with a reflection on the more radical demands of that public. It doesn't always have to be, a very wet wipey kind of policyless or whatever. Currency-less centrism. I think sometimes populism does have its part to play. It always will. You either tame it or you let it tame you. And for far too long, parties of the centre left and have just let populism happen to them, and they've suffered. In the senses of Brexit, of Trump, of the radical right in Germany. Sorry, not radical right, far right in Germany, and so on and so forth. So just to get back to my very convoluted point, I think James Cleverly will be the healthy option for the Tories if they want to recover after the next election. Someone like him, okay? Level-headed, grown up, okay? Yes, I'm just getting reports that we might be heading to
in the Parliament. So look, the pendulum is swinging towards Labour at the moment, but we still have a year to go.
But should anything change in order to stop that happening?
I think it would be a foolish Prime Minister who chops and changes things.
So, Mid Bedfordshire might be due sometime soon. Oh, we're getting a handshake. Get some handshakes there from Reform candidate. We might be on our way. I'm gonna. What could I do? Can I move? Can I make it bigger? No, I'm not going to open picture-in-picture mode. So we might be doing Mid Bedfordshire result very soon. Stand by your beds. I can go to bed soon, and it's 3 o'clock. Oh my God, I'm so glad. Oh boy, I've been covering by-elections 10 years. I've been doing local elections 10 years, and I'm 27. Actually, yeah, I'll admit it. I'm a bit unfit, as I say, eating jelly burgers at 3. I could be a lot fitter than I am. And I do feel like, actually, long nights, they're beginning to catch up with me. I don't like it. So, there we go. Right, let's get this result ready. I'll let you listen into the BBC for a bit while I just get some things.
Fed up in areas where they did vote.
Yeah, get another beer.
To leave the European Union, perhaps don't.
Oh, there's John Craig with the returning officers coming up.
They've gone to Labour or Reform UK. I think we can see the returning officer. Let's have a look. Actually getting ready in Mid Bedfordshire. So we'll keep an eye on that. But Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're going to get is
we're just getting the candidates on the stage,
the Tory party,
getting the Lib Dem candidate in the wheelchair.
And I think the suggestions will be from the people we'd expect, saying you should cut tax. And then I think you'll have other figures talking about a move to the right in other ways. You know, Danny Kruger and others who've been calling for, you know, we look at the New Conservative group and some of their ideas on immigration. And I think when you tend to have these, you know, results like that, which do create jitters, it tends to be more, everyone has their own answer for what they think the problem is, which tends to be the cause they've been championing for the past, you know, XX years of their career. Rishi Sunak's instincts will not be to, you know, bow to that. I think in number 10, I think almost if you look like you're changing path, you're conceding defeat, people try and push you further.
Yeah,
right.
But I think it will be, clearly, you know, a tough few weeks for him.
Well, let's have a look here. All the candidates, and hopefully there hasn't been one left behind in Mid Bedfordshire, or the Conservatives certainly. They're all gathering there. The returning officers there. Let's just listen in case they're about to announce the result there in Mid Bedfordshire. Again, all those huddles that Robert Buckland was talking about will have happened. So the candidates know who's won. So we're just waiting. But again, I can't see the Conservative candidate. Is this a pattern going on behind...
OK, good morning, everybody.
Here we go.
Right.
I, Russell Beard, being the returning officer at the election of a Member of Parliament for the Mid Bedfordshire Parliamentary Constituency held on Thursday the 19th of October 2023, do hereby give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at the election is as follows. Akinbazoe Festus, the Conservative Party candidate, 12,680.
Okay.
Caudle Sid, actually known as Caudle Sidney Clifford, Christian People's Alliance, 101.
That's nice.
Emperor of India, Prince Ankit Love, 27.
Okay.
Holland Dave, actually known as Holland David Arthur, Reform UK, 1,487.
That's not bad going from Reform.
Holland Lindsay, Emma Louise, Liberal Democrats, 9,420.
Not bad.
Kelly.
Yeah, that's all right.
Kelly Ann, actually known as Kelly Ann Maria, the official monster raving loony party, 249. Mackie Gareth, independent, 1,865.
Decent performance there.
Rooney Chris,
Beats Reform.
actually known as Rooney James Christopher, mainstream, 24.
Okay.
Sibley Cade, actually known as Sibley Cade Lee, Green Party, 732.
Nice guy.
Strathern Alistair Luke, Labour Party, 13,872.
Wow. That's... Britain predicts. Bang
Thomas Alberto George, Heritage Party, 63. Victor Allen, True and Fair Party, 93. Vitiello Antonio Daniel, English Democrats, Putting England First, 107. The number of ballot papers rejected was as follows. Want of official mark, nil. Voting for more candidates than the voter was entitled to, 23. Writing or mark by which voter could be identified, 2. Being unmarked or void for uncertainty, 77. Rejected in part, nil. Total, 102.
Look at that.
Vacant seats, 1. Electorate, 92,578. Ballot
Okay. Just want to put this on the map here. Just want eyes on this. Put that in percentage terms. Labour, 34%, up 12 points on 2019. Conservatives, 31%, down 29 points. Liberal Democrats, 23%, up 11 points. An independent candidate, 5%, but not a safe deposit, up 3. Reform, up 4. Greens at 2, down 2. Labour gain from Conservative. Oh.
Nearly 9,500 votes. We're waiting to see if Alistair Strathern will come to the lectern and give a victory speech. Like his other
I think someone's just tried to bomb the count.
He's waiting there, obviously delighted. So Peter Kyle, who ran
Congratulations to both Sarah Edwards and Alistair Strathern.
Going on. Somebody obviously wanting to say something. I don't know if it was one of the candidates or not, or one of their
I have to say I'm going to struggle to top that.
Oh.
But I do want to start by saying a huge thank you to everyone involved in the count tonight. This election hasn't always felt the quickest by-election, as I'm sure the candidates behind me can pay testament to, but I am deeply grateful for your work in promoting the election, supporting the election, and in conducting such a thorough and efficient count tonight. Because tonight, residents across Mid Bedfordshire made history. After decades of being taken for granted, being left behind, being underrepresented, they made the decision it was time for a change. It was time to deserve better. It was time to get better politics, higher standards, and it was time for Labour.
Wow. Big swings.
But this victory is only possible because the Labour Party has changed. Under new leadership, we've moved to where the country is and to where Mid Bedfordshire is. We're a party that's fit for sound economic policy, a party that's going to deliver safer streets and get our NHS back on its feet again. We love our country and its traditions, a country where playing by the rules matters, where ambition and hard work are rewarded, and where everyone has a chance to succeed in life. That's the Bedfordshire I grew up in, and that's the Bedfordshire that's delivered a resounding message tonight. And that is why people are turning to Labour. Our values as a party are shared by people across our county, towns, cities, and yes, even rural villages and farming communities like those right across Bedfordshire. Nowhere is off limits for this Labour Party, and tonight's result proves it.
Are you kidding me?
I set about trying to send a message here. We knew that we had a chance, but we knew we were going to have to work hard. People here have been given good reason to doubt politics, to be sceptical that it could be there for them and there for their values. And I'm so, so proud of everyone involved in this campaign for showing them that they can have better, that politics can speak up for the towns and villages across Mid Bedfordshire. It can speak up for our values, and those values have a home here in the Labour Party. For those who put your trust in me, particularly those of you who voted Labour for the first time, I won't let you down. From tomorrow until the day of the general election, I will be working hard to show you you made the right choice in me and you made the right choice in Labour to speak for your values and to champion them locally and in Parliament. Okay. I'll work day and night to repay you, to show your trust is in the right place, to show you that you can have a place in our politics again. As your MP, I'll be a man of my word. Me and Megan will be living here by your side, will be accessible to you, and find a voice for you when you need it most. A real pleasure for me throughout this campaign has been the thousands and thousands of conversations I've got to have with so many of you. And to all of you who took the time to speak to me, to give me a hearing, whether you supported me or not, thank you. Your conversations, your engagement, your support has been such a powerful motivator to a campaign that went on several days, several months, several wet days, several sunny days, but got us to where we are today. A historic message and a historic moment. But throughout all of that, one conversation really sticks with me. I recently, over the last month, had the pleasure of meeting a man called Neville. In his 90s, he'd been voting Labour his entire life, first under Clement Attlee. He'd lived in Bedfordshire his entire life. Every time he showed up at the general election to cast his vote for Labour, to not see a Labour MP returned. Well, today, Neville, I have to say, I hope the wait was worth it. Thank you for your patience, thank you for your support with Bedfordshire, and thank you for supporting me to give us a much stronger voice in Parliament. Thank you.
Well, there we have it. Labour gain. Mid Bedfordshire. Mid Bedfordshire. Okay. Mid Bedfordshire will exist as a constituency at the next election, but it won't be the same constituency, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter because it's not changed that much. My God. Alistair Stratton there, the winning Labour candidate for Mid Bedfordshire, who could do a much better job with a microphone than perhaps he is. But mind you, you won't be using a microphone like that when you're in Parliament. So anyway, congratulations to Alistair Stratton, the victorious candidate, on a sensational swing, felling a Conservative majority, the largest in by-election history, or if you want to be sure, the largest in post-war history. Post-war history. Felled not by a party of protest, not by the Lib Dems, not by UKIP, not by... this is big. This is so big. The same with Tamworth. And you look how they voted at the last election on the new boundaries. Conservative 60%, Labour 22%. We go to Tamworth, all the way up there. Conservative 66%, Labour 24%. Those now are both represented by Labour. That's big. What's happening? Something different is changing here. And what this illustrates is despair. A despair by the electorate which transcends your battlegrounds, which goes beyond your battlegrounds, goes beyond red wall, goes beyond blue wall, or rather exists within both. And that is troublesome for the governing party. It is over for them. I have to wonder, really quite aloud, how do they come back from this? How do you come back from this when half your base isn't bothered by the idea of Keir Starmer being Prime Minister? How do you come back from that? How do you come back from the fact only half your base are pleased with the set of policies you're putting on offer? How do you come back from, well, a 17-point lead that hasn't exactly narrowed over the course of the past year and a bit? Okay? 20 points, 15 points. We've been there, okay? We had April where it narrowed quite a bit, but that was still a Labour majority. I don't think there is a way back for the governing party right now. I think it is over. And I said it was over around about at the start of the year. Because once you break your reputation as the party of the economy, the party of competence, the party of getting things done, you are not trusted to turn on the lights. And so the only thing people want to do with you is get rid of you and try someone else. Now, the enthusiasm for Keir Starmer, which I just want to emphasise here in this chart, isn't perfect. 40% like him, 36% don't. He's not Tony Blair. He's not even David Cameron. He's not some celebrity figure. But he's leading a party that is seen as the only alternative to the governing party. It's going to happen. The next Prime Minister will likely be a Keir Starmer unless we have a Third World War, nuclear war, end of the world, apocalypse, or the end of democracy, I suppose. I don't see a way around this. I don't see any other way. But there we go. So yes, Labour gains 2 big seats. They're 17 points ahead in the polls. They overperformed the polls in these 2 by-elections. They more than overperformed in Mid Bedfordshire. They neutralised the Lib Dems in Mid Bedfordshire. What the hell is going on there? Let's just have a look at those results again. Let's just remind ourselves of what happened to the Lib Dem vote share. It was up 10 points, but that's not by much. 23% to Labour's 34%. Who was best placed to beat the Conservatives there? There is an argument that maybe the Conservative ceiling in a seat like Mid Bedfordshire is like 40%, and for the Lib Dems it's like 60%. Maybe. We don't know. We don't know that with certainty. I can probably try to model it. I could have a go tomorrow morning once I've had some sleep. But to be honest with you, bloody hell. I don't know, mate. I don't know. It's quite clear that Labour had the momentum. They were putting out the resources, not just in the towns that the Lib Dems claim. They were putting it in the villages as well. I know that for a fact. I know what they were doing there, and they should be very, very pleased with themselves. They ran a kind of campaign that wasn't Labour in the way you know it. Their literature didn't look Labour. their candidate didn't act Labour. You know, every stereotype you have of the Labour Party did not apply to the Labour campaign in Mid Bedfordshire. And that's what it got them. A Labour gain in a parliamentary seat that you just don't associate with Labour. So yeah, let's just read some comments out. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been an interesting stream. I've grown more and more despairing. Not despairing, tired. So yeah. Let's read it this way. Inflation drops, cost of living eases, and people start to trust the governing party again, perhaps. Yeah, maybe once the economy changes, people start doing that. But I think people need to feel the change. People need to feel their wages improving. And I don't just mean their wages up. I mean the quality of life, the cost of living really does improve. And I think that'll take years. I think that'll take years before people notice things. How often do you notice the price is changing unless it's changing every bloody week? You know? I only noticed that. What else got? Who's the next American president? Joe Biden, probably. Although never say never to Trump or DeSantis, because, you know, in America it's completely different. I've already been asked to start thinking of doing a model for America again. But yeah. Velociraptor, is gammonism dead then? Have the Tories lost the gammons and lost the wealthy vote? A lot of gammons are staying at home. Some of them have come to Labour. Enough of them have come to Labour to net them enough seats in the north. But a lot of them are staying at home. Long story short, you should expect the next election turnout in certain battlegrounds to fall and Labour to just win them quite comfortably. I don't think it'll be that big because I think Labour are netting support quite in a big way. Nadine can come back to Llandudno to work for Barnardo's now. She's so humble. Okay. AH to go to prison. Waiting for the Lib Dem bar chart, calling this a double almost win for the Lib Dems. From mid-beds to just bed, I agree. You should sleep soon, man. You from Chester, Ben? I'm not from Chester. I was born in Yorkshire, in Harrogate. And then I now live in Chester, and I'm a councillor in Chester. The West Country is just a map I found in the attic. Not in this attic, in a different flat's attic, actually. And I just thought I like maps, so I'm going to put it there. So, yeah. What else we got? That pretty much confirms it. So, my goodness me. There we go. This I think, is it. 2 big by-election record-breaking results. And not by a party of protest, not by the Lib Dems, not by UKIP, but by the Labour Party, the supposed next party of government. That's pretty big. I've said, I'm going to repeat the lines I used about a few hours ago. You know, Labour doesn't need Tamworth to win 400 seats. Labour doesn't need Tamworth to win the landslide it won in 1997. Votes have changed. Different seats have become more competitive. Labour doesn't need Labour doesn't need Tamworth or Mid Bedfordshire to get 400 seats. Labour doesn't need Mid Bedfordshire to get 450 seats. 500 seats, I don't think, actually. I'll check that, but, you know. But they just won both of them. So what does that say about our country? It's quite something, isn't it? When is the next election? May or November? We don't know. Government, the Prime Minister can call it when he wants, so long as it's before January 2025. So yeah. It could be May next year. There's reason to think it could be May, you know. Inflation is starting to ease, maybe. There'll be a budget in the new year. It might be logical to hold it at the same time as local elections, but how often does a party in Westminster, London, think of local elections? Could be October, I think. I have fingers on October, and the latest it could be held is January 2025. Would they do it then? A winter election? When, by the way, the winter we just gone saw concern for the NHS rise and saw Labour's lead rise as a consequence as well. You know, having a winter by-election, people tend to think, oh, it'll depress turnout, it'll hurt Labour. You can't prove that. What I think you can prove is it might change what people focus on. And in a winter by-election, when you have winter waiting lists and, you know, old Mrs. Muggins either next door or your granny suffering under the cold, under the winter, you know, that's going to mean something different. So, yeah, I think I've got my fingers on September, October. Could be May, could be October, could be January in 2025. It really is time for applied PM, time to really unite the country and kick out the Anglo-Saxons. No, disagree on that, actually. I'm pro-Anglo-Saxon, anti-Norman, I'm sorry. But yes, now we're going to get to conclusion. 2 big Labour gains. They don't need these seats to win landslides. They've gone over and above. So if you looked at the swings in Mid Bedfordshire and looked at the swings in Tamworth, you'll be looking at Labour on course for something like 450 to 500 seats. Bloody hell, that's quite something. But it's not going to happen because we know this is the midterm parliament. We know this is something different. We know public opinion will rally in some form towards the government, but I think compared to other elections, it won't be anywhere close to what it normally is, because I think the country is so exhausted in such a way that you're not going to get the rallying that we normally get from a midterm parliament. I really think it is. There is a very thin route back for the Conservatives in banking on the economy improving, in banking on living standards improving, and not just improving, but voters feeling like it's improving. Because if voters don't feel the GDP figures you put on your leaflets, you're getting nowhere. You're not going to win. You're getting nowhere. And I think it is too late for that. And that's why I said, I think, I don't know when I said it, I think it was earlier in the year that I thought, honestly, have the election now. Get it over with now. Because there's no other way out. It will either get worse or it will stay the same. It won't get better. And it's not getting better. So there we go. My name has been Ben Walker. This concludes the long-ass stream we've been having since, only 2 hours long. That's it. Not bad, really. I hope you've enjoyed this. Enjoyed a little bit of by-election history. British politics is changing in a way that the old computer models normally tries to offset and say, oh, it won't be that bad. No, actually, it's being worse than that. It's getting worse than that. The swings is not something we normally expect. So John Curtis on the BBC said it himself, like, these are record-breaking swings. These are big nights. It resembles landslide, the days of a real big landslide. And it's not just apathy driving it for Labour, it's actually people switching to Labour. Don't forget that. It's not Labour. It's not just Labour winning by default anymore. You know, Labour winning by default will get them 350 or so seats in the Parliament. This is big. This is quite big, and I say this, you know, objectively as a data journalist, but I also say it as a Labour borough councillor as well. This is quite sizable, and expectations will be high when Labour do get in. So there we go. That concludes it. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the New Statesman podcast tomorrow or Saturday, whenever it comes out. I'll be doing that in 6 hours' time. Looking forward to it, when I'll be giving my snap response alongside my colleagues Rachel Wearmouth and Anusha Kellyan. Looking forward to that. I think Rachel Wearmouth or Rachel Cunliffe, don't know. It'll be all good. Listen to the New Statesman podcast. I'm writing something on what happened in Mid Bedfordshire. Be sure to check that out. I do recommend you register on the New Statesman to get those free articles, or consider a subscription, because hey, look, I write there. I need to pay for the cat food to feed my cat. So yeah, I'll be back. I'll see if I do these streams more often. Could be quite good. But there we go. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me and my cat over there, but she's fast asleep now, so I'm not going to pick her up and show it. But yeah, that concludes it. I'm off. How do I end this? It's just a bit awkward, isn't it? Should I put it to some music? Nah, fuck it. Right. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Goodbye.